When I was 21, my roommate and I pushed a couch off our apartment balcony in Kansas. And I'll get back to that story in a moment, but I want to talk about journalism, American media, making it in the big leagues, the national news, New York City, Washington, D.C. How do you do it? Well, you learn a couple things along the way. You learn about siege mentality. You learn that the idea that you can control how you're perceived is a perception. You learn a great many things. But perhaps, most of all, you learn, sometimes quicker than others, that you can push against the walls, the fabric of society. And if you push hard enough, you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. And every kind of celebrity guru, feel-good, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tai Lopez, has all these pithy statements. Content trumps all, volume, hustle. That's all great. And each thing works for an individual, and then But there is a fine line between brave and stupidity, and even then that definition is only sorted out in hindsight. And so once somebody looks brave, they then ex post facto justify why and give all their reasons. Well, you hustle a lot and you work hard because that's what I did and it will work for you. But really that's just a vindication of their own life decisions. It's like somebody that went to an Ivy League school telling you should go to an Ivy League school too. It makes them feel good. Or somebody that got married early, younger in life, telling you it's time to settle down. It's probably more a reflection of them and wanting to have their own life choices validated than you. Where am I going with this? If I can be articulate for a moment and wheel back this tangent. The fabric of society. There's a term, another euphemism I'll coin, mental feudalism. Feudalism, we're taught in history in 8th grade, feudalism is the caste system in the Middle Ages, where there are peasants, vassals, knights, princes, kings, and there was a hierarchy. And you couldn't move in that hierarchy. If you were a peasant, born a peasant, raised a peasant, died a peasant. If you were a knight, you were raised a knight, died a knight. If you were the royalty, born royalty, died royalty. And that's done. Even the most recent news, we have even more British royalty jumping ship. I forget which prince it is, and Meghan Markle have decided to abdicate. The point is, even though our society no longer holds to the kind of feudalism ideas that we were taught in the Middle Ages, that you can go out and be a doctor or a lawyer, go to school and prove yourself. You don't have to die in the class you were born. But there's another type of feudalism we don't talk as much about. Mental feudalism. Feudalism of the mind. I think we're all ingrained. We're trained from an early age to replicate what we see. And so if our parents are poor, we're not even particularly poor, but they work middle-class jobs, we assume middle-class life is okay. That if we don't experience somebody that's super wealthy, we're not quite sure how to become super wealthy, or that you even can. If you grew up in a very traditional household, where the mother's a teacher and the father's a doctor, it might not dawn on you to be a graphic designer, or an artist, or if you want to break into journalism and media, but nobody around you has ever been a journalist or a writer, they're all iron ore miners, it might not dawn on you. Your mind limits your ability to think big. And it's learning to override that mental feudalism, that trap in your mind that is content for settling, and pushing against the walls. So when I was 21, my roommate and I were a bunch of nobodies. We both didn't really know what we wanted to do. I was studying history. Maybe that's why I had these feudalism metaphors. My roommate was a political science major. And we both wound up in New York City. We both wound up in media in very circuitous routes. He copied our university's Twitter account at the time, put its emblem up, logo, mascot, whatever you want to call it, and then started making GIFs pretending to be our university, which is the University of Kansas. And it got so much traction, so much attention that Kansas basically sent him a cease and desist letter saying, you can't impersonate our Twitter channel. Stop that. And my roommate was amused by this idea, but all right, he stopped it, but continued to kind of tweak at our university until they eventually realized, this guy is annoying us, but he's pretty good at this social media, making GIFs and funny memes. Why don't we just hire him to be our social media person for the university? So that was his first job in media. The university ended up hiring him just because they thought, well, you can't beat him, join him, so why don't we just hire him? And from there, he wound up taking an internship at Business Insider after college. And then right around that time, his internship ended. He was coming back. He just landed a job in LA. At this point, I was moving to New York City. I was working at BuzzFeed. And a year later, he was done in LA, and he wanted to come back to New York City. And I said, I can get you a job at BuzzFeed. Come crash in my apartment. He slept on the floor for days, got him a job. Now he works at the New York Times. I went on to work at Bloomberg. It's been a heck of a journey. And it doesn't mean you have to be super famous or super wealthy, but neither of us came from any sort of background in media or journalism or politics. We're both Middle West, classic American, John Steinbeck, Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, Midwest Americans. Fathers are teachers, doctors, lawyers, that kind of thing. But how you do it is you press against the walls. I used to just make videos, and I compare it. When people ask, how do you get into the industry? I'll tell you what I tell them, and they never quite understand it, but maybe you will. Now that we're talking about mental feudalism and learning to override what you know and trust that you're paddling in the right direction. And paddling is a good metaphor, because when you want to do something that you don't have a path for, which is very common in media and journalism, the industry iterates so quickly that the jobs that are needed today, no professor or teacher are trained or qualified to teach you for in high school or college. They don't know what they're talking about. Still teach Avid. So everybody's editing with iPhone software for Adobe Premiere or Adobe Premiere Pro. Nobody's teaching any of that, but a lot of videos are cut nowadays in modern digital journalism, broadcast journalism, on their phone. The point is paddling. You take a risk, and you're going to paddle out there, and it's going to feel like you're kind of just paddling in the ocean. And you're not going to see anybody around you. You can see any life. And you're just going to be kind of paddling against the waves, and you're going to think, am I headed in the right direction? And like Jack Sparrow, you're kind of just going to take your internal compass out, and you're going to trust this compass is pointing me towards the way I want to go. And if I just keep paddling, I'll eventually strike some sort of land. And that land will be closer to the eventual goal that I want. And from that land, I'll get my bearings again, I'll learn much more about myself, and I'll set off again. And you do this kind of island hopping, paddling off on your own. And occasionally you'll bump into other people that have decided to paddle out on their own. You'll be like, hey, did you just leave that island to head out into the middle of nowhere to pursue a career that you know nobody else is doing? Yeah? Oh, me too. Oh, that's cool. Why don't we be friends? And that's how it works. It's breaking that mental feudalism, understanding that you can make money if you want to make money. You can enter journalism if you want to enter journalism. You can make GIFs or memes for a living if that's what you want to do. It's just pushing against the fabric of society. And if you push hard enough, and you paddle long enough, it'll bend around you. And you may not be famous, you might not get really wealthy, but there's a quote, Dave Chappelle, or John Mayer, one of these brilliant individual artists, they said they told their parents, I think I want to be a musician. I think I want to be a stand-up comic. I don't know about that, son. You know, the odds of you making it in that industry are really low. I don't know if that's the best career path. And they said to their parents, well, I don't know, Dad. You make $60,000 a year. If I can make $60,000 a year playing guitar or telling jokes, then I made it. And that's what it's about. If you're able to make it just doing what you want, then you made it. Success doesn't have to be multi-million-dollar deals and millions of followers on Instagram to do what you want. There are a variety of avenues. It's just keep rowing, breaking that mental feudalism. Just some thoughts. little less Gary Vee, a little less Ty Lopez, a little more real. Let me know what you guys think down below. Curious to see your guys' thoughts. Don't forget to please leave a like on this video and subscribe. If you made it this far, consider subscribing. Love to have you. Maybe I'll give you another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.